Welcome to this episode of Investors Card. This is Mayank Agarwal, and today we have with us one of the very well known name in industry, Mr. Ninad Karpe. Sir has been working as a director at CA Technologies, BNP Paribas, Asset Management India Private Limited, Aptech, and also has been working as a chairperson at CII Western Region and also of Maharashtra State Council. Today, Sir is associated with many startups and has been working as a partner at one of the VC firms, 100X.VC. It's our pleasure to have you, sir. We welcome you on board, sir.
Thank you for inviting me. It's my real pleasure to be here and share my thoughts.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So, like before we jump onto the question directly, so sir, we would like to know your experiences which you had during, you became director and then you went into this uh, VC industry. So how was it? I mean, what were the challenges that you faced and any insights which you would like to share with us?
Sure, thank you. I will be very brief and encapsulate my many years of experience in exactly 120 seconds. Last year and a half and more, I have been involved full time in the VC industry. We fund early stage startups as the first institutional investor. So if you have a great idea in a startup, you look nowhere, come to 100X.VC. We will fund you. Before that, for 7 years, I was CEO and MD of Aptech. It's a listed company. Before that, 13 years, I was heading operations and managing director of Computer Associates. It's a large US-based software product company. And before that, for 13 years, I had my own consulting. I have written a book called Bond to Baba. I would recommend each one of you should read it. It's a book on business strategies. It's available on Amazon. And of course, as a passion and a second profession, on weekends, I support theater. I have co-produced 2 theaters. So that in brief is what I'm doing.
That's great, sir. That's great. So what was that moment when you thought of like moving to this VC industry, like 100X.VC? Like I have really read about it. So it has its own journey. So what was that moment when you thought of like moving into this early stage startups and how exactly that is helping out those early stage startups to, go ahead with their ideas and all that?
Sure, Mike, if I were you today, I would look no further but to start a startup. It's the most exciting time in India. There are plenty of opportunities, and the entire ecosystem supports startups. So, your eCell plays a very crucial role in the career choices of students. The reason I joined is I realized the opportunity is huge. I have huge amount of experience in running companies, and hence I can utilize that in funding startups and advising them.
Great, sir. Well, that is a great move ahead. So yeah. So, sir, there were many questions upon the team's part. So we have frequently been asked about like what should one see in his team, or how should he choose his team members so as to by to pass that criteria where the VCs actually look upon to the team factor. So what are those core factors which everybody sees in a team, and why exactly are they very relevant to this startup environment?
First horizontal skill required is great passion for the product, service, or whatever offering the startup has. Absolutely required. Second and most important is founders and team members should have complementary skills, not overlapping skills. If I have a startup with 3 founders, all 3 of them marketing folks, it is not easy. You have to have complementary skills which can be used by someone else as well. So and to ensure that the startup has a wholesome team. So very, very, very basic things: deep passion and complementary skills.
Okay. Yeah. So, sir, after talking about team, when I let's say if I do have my own startup. and I am looking forward to have some funds. So let's say I come to 100X.VC. So what would be the criteria? What would be the questions which you would be asking, and what should be, let's say, I myself have to be prepared with something. So what do you actually expect out of me?
I will put it in simple words. Number one is we look at the founder and founders. How passionate are they? Do they have good communication skills? Can they articulate? Do they know the domain? So, number one is the founders. Number two, how big is the market? Is it a niche market, small market, expanding market, or a huge market? So, that is very critical. Number three is what is the business moat or unfair advantage you have? Is it IP? Is it an idea? Is it something which you're doing more efficiently? Is it something which a new thing which you have thought about? So these are the broad three things which you look at.
Okay. So there has been few more questions around the revenues part. So what startups really face is even after they have some good revenues in hand and they are performing well in the industry, still they are not actually able to get those investments and get those funds which are actually required to expand. So have you ever faced, or would you like to share an example where you saw such situation, and what would be your advice to them? How should they go forward with it?
The most successful global companies including Airbnb, was rejected by a couple of VCs before they got funding. So rejection does not mean that you will not get funding. You have to keep meeting and meeting more and more VCs. It takes time. It takes time till you meet the perfect person who's willing to fund you. It doesn't happen overnight. You might think you have the best product in the world and people should fund you in the first meeting. It does not happen. On an average, it takes seven, I'll repeat, seven meetings with a VC to finally close a discussion or to get a term sheet. So it takes time. You have to be prepared for it. You have to ensure that you're ready for the pitch. Remember, capital is chasing good ideas. Capital will chase good ideas, and in today's context, there's enough capital chasing good ideas. So if you do not get succeed at the first instant, remember people like you in Airbnb were not successful in the first round. Person like Ritesh Agarwal, Oyo, got his first funding at the age of 17. It's a very early age, and he had an idea. He pitched. He got. I mean, he did not get the first round, but he got it. So anything can happen in this. Anything.
Yeah, that's true. So, sir, there's one more thing. Like at 100X.VC,
Yeah.
if I say, what exactly is the main forte of it? Like, what type of startups basically you look at, and what exactly do you see in the startup to fund that?
So we have a couple of advantages. Number one is we are the first institutional investor in any startup. So we invest in early stage, pre-revenue, early revenues, but any early stage startup we invest. We invest through a unique instrument called iSafe note. ISAFE, Simple Agreement for Future Equity. You can check it on our website. Basically, there's no discussion on valuation, shareholders' rights, none of the above. It's a fast, quick documentation, extremely founder friendly. Instead of going through 3 to 6 months of shareholder agreement discussion, this can happen within a couple of hours. Absolutely straightforward agreement. And third is we mentor the startups which we fund, and then we present them in front of a large audience of HNIs, other VCs, family offices, on a day we call a pitch day, where they pitch and get a bigger round of funding. So we are a discovery platform. We are sector agnostic. We fund startups from any sector, but we fund only early stage as first institutional investor on ICF, mentor them, and take them to a bigger round.
Great, great. So, yeah, I think like most of our queries have been answered. So do you think like, or is there any advice which you would like to give to our audience? Like how should they move ahead with their careers?
So this is the time for each one of you to think of an exciting startup. What to do? Not at all difficult. Look outside. There's so many frictions. Any consumer, any producer, any supplier, exporter, any person in business, consumer is facing. Solve a problem, solve a pain point. I'm sure with the institution where you're studying, you're all smart kids. If you're like having a job where you can expect regular returns or regular income every month. But it's a rewarding and enthralling journey. If you succeed, there's nothing like having a good startup. There's nothing more rewarding than seeing your startup, hopefully becoming a unicorn. It's an exciting journey. The entire ecosystem is now geared to support startups. Just plunge into it. You will succeed. You will succeed if you have a passion.
That is true, sir. That is true. So yes, sir. I think with this we have actually come to an end,
Great.
and I hope uh, my audience would also be able to learn and grasp some insights from what discussion we had. And we also thank you. We also again thank you for sharing those insights and taking out some time for our audience. And yeah, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank
You
you.
can always connect with me or follow me on Insta or on LinkedIn, and put your comments there as well. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, sir.